continue. Hello everybody, sorry for that slight delay. We're just having a slight technical issue that I will resolve shortly. Thank you very much for joining us for this presentation. My name is Mandy Bowden. I'm the lead knowledge exchange officer on the Marine Business Technology Centre, I will call it MBTC Project, and I'll be your host for this event. Just a reminder that during this webinar, you will only hear myself and our presenters speak. We will not be able to hear or see you. But after the presentation, we will be holding a question and answer session. And you can raise any questions at any point during the presentations by using the question and answer chat bar at the top of your screen. If you see somebody else's questions that you're interested in, you can like that and that will send it to the top of the pile. And just a reminder that we are recording this webinar so that we are able to put it on our website and give other people access to it on demand who haven't been able to attend this particular live session. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick introduction to the MBTC project, but most importantly the grant programme, and then I've got a presentation from two different presenters. There's Tim Smith from Saline Marine and Richard Greaves from Voomeroon, and then we'll do the question and answer session. So the MBTC project, this is a European funded partnership project that is led by Plymouth City Council with the research partners University of Plymouth, University of Exeter, Plymouth Marine Lab and the Marine Biological Association. It's drawn together these organisations to support innovation in the marine business, mostly focused on Devon small and medium-sized enterprises to help with design, development, test and prove of new ideas, new concepts, new products and services in the marine sector. What the project overall provides is free access to project equipment and expertise for the qualifying SMEs. However, it was acknowledged that at the point that the application was put together that there may well be some aspects of innovation that are not able to be supported through the project partner expertise and project partner capital equipment that has been provided. Hence a small grant facility as part of the project to help with the costs of engaging external consultants to your business to underpin, support and provide stepping stones to your innovation journey. So the grant that is available is to fund a business's interaction with a consultancy provider and that engagement to assist your innovation activities. It's not an enormous budget for this activity. It's 120,000 total fund. We're thinking probably average grants being taster sessions with consultants perhaps, or feasibility studies of around £2,500, but there is no actual maximum or limit on the amount that you could put in for a grant. I think we just need to bear in mind that it's a reasonably quick process of approval and delivery, so it's not probably going to be funding £100,000 worth of activity with one company. The grant available is 75% of the costs that the consultant costs to your business, so 25% would be expected to be covered by yourself as a business. To reflect the size of the grant and the speed at which we want to get these grants out to your businesses to enable you to access consultancy advice and support, it's only a 2-page application form, of which it's mostly just 1 page. The second page is mostly signatures and sign off and things like that. So it is a reasonably simplified application process, even though it's a European funded support offering. And alongside the grant application, There is also an organisational needs analysis that is conducted by myself or the project director, Rob Watson, or one of the partners, knowledge exchange officers. And that's to understand a little bit more about your business, what you need, and get a fuller picture of exactly what you're asking for as a grant application. So it's 2 documents, 2 activities to achieve an application completion. These are the sorts of example funded work. It's not restricted to this, but this is to just give you some ideas of the sort of activity that could be funded under this programme, and that a number of consultants are available to provide these sorts of support activities. So with our webinar series, we've already had presentations about cybersecurity, marketing, preparing yourself for larger grant applications, and also your marine innovation journey. And we have 2 more presentations today as well. The timescales for the grant is the grant call opened on the 1st of July. We've got a turnaround of about 6 weeks, so we're already 1 week into that, but we're looking to get all applications ready to be assessed at the deadline of the 14th of August. We'll then hold our panel assessment a week later, and we're looking to get decisions out on your applications at the end of August, so you can engage your consultants and run the projects in this calendar year. There is a possibility that there may be some fund left over, and we might look at a second call for grants, but at the moment this is the timescales we're looking at. The next steps for a grant application is to put an expression of interest with either myself with pre-lockdown hair, or with Rob Watson, and I'm not going to say anything about his hair, the project director. We would like to see your application, talk to you about your ideas, help hone your application, and also complete your organisational needs analysis, which is needed to support your application form, and obviously get that in by the 14th of August. So it's very much a supported discussion to prepare your application. Now we have 2 presenters today. We're going to swap them round. So Richard Greaves is going to present, first of all, his subject around a project to product. What does a business do once you've got your grant? And Tim Smith from Saline Marine will be looking at what he can offer a business for your development, particularly relating to the marine sector. So I shall hand you over to Richard in just a moment. If you bear with me, I shall get his presentation prepared. Lovely. Thank you, Richard. I shall just pop you in so we've got both. Richard, thank you very much. We've now got you live with your video and your slide presentation.
Lovely, thank you, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is afternoon now. Firstly, thanks to Mandy and the team at Oceansgate at the MBTC for asking me to speak today. Yeah, very kind. So Mandy's already said earlier this morning I gave a similar webinar presentation, and that was about how to get grant ready and make the most of your application. So no doubt the attendees at that webinar rushed off full of enthusiasm and vim and vigour to apply for grants left and right. Well, some of them will be successful, undoubtedly, and others won't. That's just how it is. But let's assume that that you've submitted your grant application some time ago, several months ago, and that in the past few days you've received the email that you've been waiting for, and you're absolutely chuffed. Happy days, because your grant application has been successful. But now the high fives are over. the hangover has set in and you've got the cold chill of reality. You've now got to deliver your project. What on earth do I do now? Well, for me, the first thing to think about, and this may sound ridiculous given that the effort that you put in to get to this point, but your first question is, do I still need the grant? Life moves on, things change. Your circumstances may be different, the business circumstances may be different. Maybe the match funding that you needed to support this grant, maybe that's no longer available because of other business priorities. Maybe your idea has changed direction and things are just different. Or maybe, and hopefully, things are still the same and the grant award is just what you need to develop your idea along to the next stage. But the point is, just because somebody is prepared to award you a grant, that doesn't mean that you have to accept that grant. You've still got a choice. So what do you do? Go back to your proposal and go back to the contract that was part of the application pack, and just reconfirm in your own mind, be comfortable that you still want to proceed. What you'll have done, hopefully, already is you'll have done this, you'll have reviewed all of the contract documents in your application before you got the acceptance email. But let's assume that you've received it. It's not the only thing that you need to do. You need to get in touch with your partners, those people that supported the application and said that they would deliver services to you to help your project get off the ground. And you need to confirm that they're still interested. What you don't want to do is to accept your grant and then find you haven't got the team around you to deliver it, because a grant is a contract, and you are obliged to do what you said in your proposal once you've signed the contract. You'll need to think about setting up various subcontracts with those partners and those suppliers. And you may even want to redefine what it is that you want them to do and redefine the work packages and so on. Remember, what we're talking about here with a grant is that it's a project. It has a very clear start point. There's the activity in the middle, and then there's a very clear end point when the final invoice goes in. So you might decide to appoint a project manager to help you lead, to help you deliver the project and lead it on your behalf, especially if your business has moved on and you're busier now than you were previously. And if you can use the same project manager to deliver the grant, the grant project, as you used during the application process, assuming that you used one, then you're really hitting the ground running, because they already know what the project's about. And the project manager management of grant delivery, or grant project delivery, is my sweet spot. That's where I can really help you deliver. So you're going to accept the contract, you're going to sign it, you agree a start date with your with the funder, and away you go. The first thing you need to do is to get the team together and hold a kick-off meeting. You use the kick-off meeting to introduce team members to each other, especially if they haven't met previously, and to explain to everyone what everyone else is doing. It's important to, right at the beginning, to establish what you want in terms of behaviours and boundaries. And what do I mean by that? Well, some organisations can be very transactional, retail organisations, for example, whilst others can be incredibly collaborative, think arts projects, that sort of thing. You want to be somewhere in the middle of that. You want to you want to set expectations at the start, and doing that helps prevent problems later on. If you've got sufficient funding, so this is really if it's quite a large project, then I'd recommend having some, and if you've got a large team, I'd recommend having some sort of a team building activity right at the beginning, very early on, so that the team can get to know each other before they start work, rather than having to work together in order to find out about each other. If you do that, the team will perform better earlier on. And one of the things we're trying to address here is the most common failing in all projects. And it's not the technology, it's not the skills that people bring, it's not even not having the complete set of skills. 99 times out of 100, where a project goes wrong is because the communication hasn't been effective. So you've got to really work hard to get the communication right from the very beginning. You can also use the kick-off meeting to formally agree and allocate responsibilities so that everybody knows who's doing what. Make sure you're covering health and safety procedures, especially if you're working in a hazardous environment. And obviously the marine and maritime sector is a hazardous environment by its very nature. It's important that you explain what reporting processes you want the team to follow to report to you or your project manager, and why you want those reporting processes in place. But also keep in mind the reporting that you're obliged to follow to keep the grant provider, the funder, to keep them informed. They will have a process that they want you to follow as well. So the kick-off meeting is all about sharing information about the project, getting everybody on the same page, understanding the boundaries and the behaviours and so on. And it's also the right time and the right place to explain the project schedule. And a good tool to do that is a Gantt chart. So this chart here, don't worry so much about the detail down the left. But it's a high-level Gantt that I included in an application to show the funder what the project will deliver and when. And very simply, you've got timescales across the top and a list of tasks down the left-hand side, and the length of the bars shows you how long the task is going to take. You can make these charts as simple, as complicated, or as necessary to suit your particular project. And then when you're delivering your project, you can use it to keep track of how things are progressing, when deadlines are coming up, how near the deadlines are, and so on. They're a great tool for letting you see at a glance exactly where you are in the delivery cycle. But it's not just you and your team who's going to want to know how you're progressing. The funding body wants to know as well. So what are they going to want? In your proposal, you'll have articulated and described a number of formal deliverables that you're going to produce and forward to the funder, and these will be evidence that you've done what you said you're going to do. It could be documents, it could be reports, anything really to provide the evidence that you've done what you said you would. So, for example, if your idea is and the grant is all about building a new type of system component, then they might want to see some drawings or a production schedule before they release further funding that allows you to move into prototype production. And there may be several deliverables attached to the milestone events within the proposal. And the milestone events normally will trigger some sort of payment. So you need to get your deliverables right, on the right schedule, to make sure that you can submit your invoices and release the funding. Because after all, that's why you've applied for the grant in the first place, is to get the funding. So a word of warning, if your grant comes from one of the really big providers and it's a large grant, so from somebody like Innovate UK, there may well be some reports that are detailed in the contract terms and conditions that are buried on a website somewhere that you haven't actually referred to in your proposal. Now, I recently completed a project which was funded by a European body, and And that required 4 separate end of contract reports, each at increasing levels of detail, as well as all the comprehensive technical data packages and already delivered previous reports. Now, these final 4 reports ran in total to around 100 pages of absolutely stimulating, gripping read. It was something that had slipped through the net. We didn't pick it up in the contract terms and conditions because it was buried right in the very fine print. It was something that the funding body's project manager brought to our attention, and of course left us with the problem of having to produce them with no resources to do so. Somewhere in the grant terms, in the contract, there'll be a reference to record keeping and audits. As it's most unlikely that you're going to be subject to a full audit, but you might be. And again, it's common to be asked to provide details of how you actually spent the money. So another word of warning, I managed a small project, which was a £50,000 grant. And at the start, the funding manager explained quite clearly that they had a hands-off approach. They wouldn't be asking us for any detail. They'd just be wanting to see a final report. Fantastic. At the end of the project, however, they asked for the staff hours that had been allocated to the project, and could they please have copies of the timesheets? Well, I was working with a small business. The small business doesn't keep timesheets because they trust each other to do what they're paid to do. And so we had a real job persuading the funder that, well, we don't keep timesheets, and it's all about trust. So that was problematic, but it was, again, it was a lesson learned. Keep adequate records, just in case you are audited. So what now? Let's assume that you've delivered most of the project, you've written your reports, you've sent in your deliverables, you've sent your final invoice, all the final reports and so on, and that you've actually been paid, and that's great. So now, hopefully, you'll be turning what was an idea into a thing and something that you can market and sell. So what now? What are you going to do next? Well, you're probably going to need further funding, and you might have some different choices now to what you had when you were looking for the grant. They might be the same choices. You could look for another grant. Again, if you're if you are looking for a grant, choose the right funding body. You might be going to an angel investor. You've now got something tangible that you can show. Maybe you've done a feasibility study, maybe you've got a prototype, but you've got something that you can show people. And angel investors, they're entrepreneurial, and they have a passion for helping others succeed, and they're prepared to invest their cash to do that. You could consider private equity. That might be your own money. It might be investment from friends, colleagues, relations, and so on. You could choose bank loan, and maybe even something like venture capital. But whatever route you take, I'd advise that you get some professional help before you sign anything. And the more money that you need, the better quality that help actually needs to be. So this is a bit of a repeat from earlier this morning, but the funding route now depends on where you are on the technology readiness level scale. If you've already had a grant, you're no longer at number 1. You'll have at least moved up to number 2, number 3, which is more about feasibility rather than just basic research. And you could be up around 6, 7, 8, or even 9. Remembering that the lower the number, the more raw your idea actually is. There are the amount of money that you can get towards the right-hand end of that scale is less as a percentage of the total job. And again, funding levels are going to depend on the fund itself and the fund objectives. And as was explained in this morning's earlier presentation, if you are applying for a grant, make sure that you answer the question and you align your submission to their objectives. So what you need to do, having spent your grant, is make an assessment of where you are now and whether you need further funding to progress, or whether you've got a tangible business opportunity to pursue. Whichever it is, and whichever route you're going to take, you're going to need some form of a business plan. Now, this might be quite daunting, but it's not. A business plan is written basically for two reasons. Firstly, if you're an existing business, it will be written to guide the people in the business or the organisation. It tells them at a high level what the business is trying to achieve and how it's going to do it. It provides a roadmap from where the business is today, whether your business is a startup for your innovation or whether it's a long-established business. It provides that roadmap, and it fulfills the basic function of providing strategic direction. But the second reason, and what we're interested in today, is the second reason for a business plan is to raise money. And the purpose here really is incredibly simple. It's got to describe in simple terms, at the right level of detail, how the investor or the lender is going to get their money back and when. And that's it. If I'm going to give you my money, when am I going to get it back? And how much extra am I going to back for letting you use my money in the first place?
Richard,
Yeah.
Do you have a couple more minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. So some of you, perhaps you're an engineer, you might be starting out, or you might never have held a managerial position. You might be daunted by the process of preparing a business plan. Don't, because if you've got a grant already, you've already prepared a business plan, just in a different format. So remember, the title of this session is I've got my grant, now what? So most of the sections in a business plan will be very similar to those in a grant application. So how can a consultant help? If you're producing a business plan, growing your business, you might think about getting a project manager. That's what I do. That's what I can help. And certainly, if you're delivering your grant-funded project, you might want a project manager to help you with that. If you're putting the business plan together, depending on the purpose, that can be challenging as well. And again, a project manager can help you through that and just make sure you keep on track and do things in a timely way. It's unlikely that any one individual within your business has got the skills to do everything and to prepare the business plan, so you might need some extra support. And as with a grant application, we're looking at an accountant to help you with your money. You're writing the document. It's a selling document if you're using it to raise funds. So can you write compelling words? Do you need help with market research and so on? Do you need commercial expertise? And do you need somebody to review at the end? So how much does it cost? Consultancy rates vary across the board depending on the skills, so anything between £400 and £1,200 a day. Some skills are more expensive than others, but typically the £2,500 grant that Mandy spoke about earlier would get you between 3 and 5 days, depending on what sort of person you're employing. For me, that would be probably around 3 to 4 days. £10,000 gets you 3 to 4 weeks worth of support, and that of course can be expended over a fairly long period. So to summarize, first thing, keep your team informed in the period up to the receipt of the grant decision to make sure they're on board. Just because you've been awarded a grant, you don't have to accept it. Think carefully before you do. If you've got a large project, get a professional project manager. Have a kick-off meeting to explain to the entire team the ground rules for the project. Use some of the tools that are available, like Gantt charts, to monitor progress. Make sure you submit all the right deliverables at the right time to make sure you hit the milestones and get paid. Keep good records in case you get audited. And when you finish the project, decide where you're going to go. Do you need another application or another business plan? Get some support, and these MBTC grants will provide that, help provide that. You've got my details there on the screen, so any questions, give me a call. And thank you, Mandy, and apologies for overrunning.
That's fine, Richard. Thank you very much. Sterling presentation there. So Tim, as our next speaker, if you'd like to share your screen so that I have your presentation ready to queue up. That's coming through. You'll need to unmute yourself and also put your screen onto slideshow. You're still muted.
My Teams froze momentarily, so apologies. Not now share. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes. It would be good to put it on slideshow.
That's fine, thank you.
I shall send that live now.
Excellent. So thank you to Mandy and the MBTC team for the opportunity to present. We've been engaged and working with some of the team on various things in recent months, including a couple of really interesting projects and working with Plymouth Sound as well. So a quick introduction as to what we do at Saline Marine. As you might have guessed by the title, our core background is within the marine sector. We cross over, and I'll come on to that shortly. We provide business development and sales, but we do it in a very unique fashion. So we're a team of quite rightly experts, really, all with different skill sets and different knowledge and contact bases. And we combine to provide a comprehensive solution to business development on an outsourced basis. Business development is one of those things that, as a term, is often misunderstood. And I often get the question as to how does it cross over with sales? Sales is part of business development. Business development really is a wider sense and involves everything from the early stages of developing solutions, understanding the market, engaging with the market, gathering the feedback that you need to make sure that your product, solution or system is viable and has a commercial future. So our mission quite clearly there is to nurture and develop long-lasting relationships, and we do that on a day-to-day basis, not only with our clients but also with our clients' contacts. We are not a telemarketing organisation, that's not what we do. So we work with you collaboratively to develop your business and your opportunities as they may be. Our key sectors, energy, that's predominantly offshore but also onshore, and that includes offshore wind, wave and tidal energy, and onshore wind right through to nuclear construction. The maritime sector in its widest possible sense, and that means everything from ports and harbours, the marine energy that I've already mentioned, subsea operations, vessels, big vessels, small vessels, vessel designers, vessel manufacturers, and key components therein. We cross over into construction and civil engineering, and that's a big market for us these days. And alongside Boris's build campaign, it will be a big feature for us moving forwards. We do a fair bit of work in the public sector as well, so working with such organisations as MBTC and the Plymouth Sound, different organisations such as the Catapults, and various business support and business groups such as East of England Energy Group, ORE Catapult, and so on. Typically we provide three basic types of work. We do short-term market engagement, and this can be essentially where you may be looking to either diversify your business into new markets. You may have a new technology that you want to explore the market with to find out whether it's viable, to find out exactly how it can be best suited to the requirements of the end user. We provide long-term contracts, and this is our core business. So we provide external business development working on an in-house basis. So we appear to the outside world as an employee of our client, and we develop long-term, short-term, medium-term and long-term pipelines of opportunity. We open the doors, we begin the relationships, we manage those relationships. So as you move forwards, as our clients move forwards, they have a long-term growth opportunity. Consultancy services is on a turnkey basis generally, and this can be helping to, it can be a mix and match of the different services that we provide, including short-term and long-term, but it can be around market engagement, developing routes to market, access to finance, which is one of the reasons we're talking today. We have a strong background in developing and taking to market new and disruptive technologies, and that's no mean feat. It's something that we've become quite good at over the years, and again it crosses over with our background of being able to engage with markets whether we know them or not, find the correct people and the correct contacts, and be able to utilize their experience and their knowledge to ensure that what we're trying to take to market has a commercial reality. As I mentioned previously, we work on a collaborative basis as part of your organisation, so we carry, depending on the contract, but generally speaking, we will carry an email address of the clients. Our LinkedIn profiles will often represent and reflect our work that we're doing on a short-term and a long-term basis, and we represent our clients, be that short-term or long-term, at events, key supply chain meetings and presentations as may be required. On a kind of commercial level, we always allocate a senior project manager that coordinates all the activity and manages the reporting process. Our business model is pretty unique. As I said, we're not a telemarketing organisation. Equally, we're not a traditional consultancy. So you don't pay us to carry out long-winded desktop studies. What we do is we engage with the market. We work with you to try and identify where we think the markets are. Our clients will have some idea of where they believe those markets are. We will have separate views on that as well. We put those into the pot. We go out and we identify and we work out which is the best place to be taking product, services, or and identifying opportunities. It allows us to flex resource as may be required. So we've got a wide skill set within our core employee base and amongst our external consultants. That allows us to bring in specialist resource if we need it. It also means you have the access to the expertise that you require without having to employ and recruit a full team of people that could otherwise deliver that type of process. So our approach to partnership is pretty straightforward. We like to work on the keep it simple, stupid process. So it's all about continuous improvement. We sit down and we work collaboratively to develop the strategic objectives. We work in total transparency all the way through, and we provide ongoing feedback and communication. It's imperative that we do work in a collaborative basis, because otherwise we either end up duplicating effort or you end up duplicating effort, and it allows for findings as we find them and intel that we gather to be fed back into the loop. So you end up with a positive feedback process. Whatever we do, generally speaking, it involves engaging with organisations and contacts. When we do that, we log and record all of those activities on a CRM system that we use in-house. What that means is that you as a client has access to all of that data as we develop it. So at the end of the programme, we download and we provide you with that information, so you've got something tangible that you can follow up on. And it also provides continuity and a degree of safety during the programme, because if for whatever reason one of us is off sick or off ill, or we have to go offline, our clients are able to pick that up, and vice versa. They're able to work on the CRM, add data into it, which we can pick up and carry on with. We always report and review all this information on a monthly basis. This allows and we encourage flexibility based on the intel that we gather. So that might mean that our strategic objectives, as we identified them at the beginning of the programme, need to change into a different direction based on what we have found. It's obvious that we always work to key performance indicators, and that's something that we identify during the beginning of the programme. So I guess at this point it's kind of relative to try and explain how this might work for some of the projects that we do. And it's important to understand that market engagement and route to commercial reality is generally speaking a key element of any project that would be looking to be developed with a grant in support, and ultimately the key to future success is being able to understand and access the market on a commercial level. So our knowledge and contact base and networks cover the entire supply chain of our specialist sectors. We've found in the past, we've worked on a lot of projects where our clients have carried out high level presentations and have received buy-in from people at high level in really senior positions, but that often doesn't filter down to the guys on the ground. So if we use an offshore wind project as an example, we might have a widget that it can improve the efficiency of a wind turbine. Some of the head guys from the likes of Siemens and Vattenfall and RWE and SSE and Ørsted, they may all buy into that. What we then find is that that doesn't progress down the food chain, so to speak, and the real buyers, the real users, the people who are going to be signing off the procurement process are those on the ground who are operating these wind farms. So what we do is take that approach. So we take the high level approach and we take a bottom level approach, and generally speaking the two will meet somewhere in the middle, which generally results in some progress and orders and real world applications. We're hugely experienced at researching and engaging and developing new sectors. Ultimately, that's how we've got to have the knowledge and the contact base that we now have. These things don't always, we're not born with these contacts, we're not born with the knowledge. It's something that we grow and just happens on a day-to-day basis, really. We have a huge challenge in managing the amount of data and intel that we gather as a business, because as you can imagine, that can be, well, it's huge. We understand market trends and who the key stakeholders are within any kind of process, and we again working with us allows you to have access to this knowledge and contact base. Over on the right hand side of the slide you can see there's a kind of quick example that covers off many of the maritime, energy and tier 1 contractors within construction and civil engineering. But it includes all of the major tier 1s, it includes asset owners, operators, and of course all of the consultants working within those sectors as well, from small right up to the biggest, including Atkins and Skanska and various others. Our contacts within these organisations vary across different levels again. So if we are engaging with a market to try and take something to commercial reality, we will be going in at project level and estimating type level. If we're working at a much higher level, we can go in at senior project and senior director level to be able to have high level discussions and to be able to understand the true opportunity as they may be and gain that access. Quick slide on typical key KPIs that we use. Market intelligence is a key thing, and that's always fed back to the client. Relationship building, and we can monitor that and provide numbers on that. Ultimately, in a commercial sense, what that then comes back to is the number of opportunities or size of opportunities that are realised, and the bottom line at the end of the day, when you're working with any kind of commercial level project, is always about how many opportunities have we provided to quote and the value of that quoted work. Quick slide on us as a team. It's important to understand that what we provide is a breadth of experience and knowledge across all different levels, and we all have different areas of expertise. So David on the right is our bids and tender manager, and he's hugely experienced in quality submissions and ensuring tenders and bids and grants grant applications are delivered in a timely, suitable fashion, ticking all of the correct boxes. Richard has a huge background in public sector and large-scale finance organisations. Nikki is incredibly good at getting into contacts that we don't know at really senior level and opening the doors to present and discuss and develop those relationships. Ryan is a new member to the team and is a shining example of business development being something that you're either good at or you're not. It's as simple as that. There's no qualifications that required. Ryan's background was a baker at Sainsbury's before he came on board with us a year ago. And I don't tell him this, but I dread to think how much he'd be worth if he went off and worked for any of our clients directly. We've got a few case studies, and sadly, actually, I'm lacking on this slide a case study that I had wanted, but we'll show a few key examples. Pathfinder is an organisation that is hugely involved in the industrial Internet of Things, mainly around asset and facility tracking. During the recent coronavirus pandemic, they developed a system called Safe Distancing Assistant, which essentially is a little lanyard worn device. They were working on a reactive basis, so they've managed to get some really good airtime at a marketing level. What we did was then actually take this on a proactive level and start to engage with people, tier one contractors and operators within our key areas of knowledge. We have been working on this for approximately a month. In that first month, secured orders of 14,000 and anticipated orders within the next week of a further 50,000. I'd expect that to ramp up further from there. To give you an idea of the type of people we've engaged them with and had positive feedback with is Network Rail, Siemens, the HS2 project, Hinkley Point C, which is the nuclear power station build, SSE, the energy company, M4 Smart Motorway, Aggregate Industries, the Environment Agency. We actually, as an innovative technology, what we did was go out and arrange and organise trials. The traditional way of organising trials is you send somebody a box of devices. What we do is actually go out, visit, deliver, demonstrate and work with the client to make sure that you get the best end results possible. Out of that has come opportunities beyond the initial SDA programme. One of those is to develop a plant proximity safety system, which is a huge opportunity for them moving forwards and a big revenue stream. And Network Rail, who've engaged with them to develop turnkey solutions to safety and logistical challenges. This is all around the relationship approach that we take. I won't go into too much detail on the others. This is a really interesting program where it was an existing subsea services provider, survey provider, that had a global presence but nothing in Northwest Europe. In 6 months of working with them, we developed over £3 million of quoted work. By the end of year one, it was over 7 million. Within that first year, they won 12 months. Within that first 12 months, they'd won £740,000 of work. Saline Marine is a huge provider of services to the subsea, tidal and wave energy sectors, and again you can kind of see the impact we've managed to have there. And Red 7 Marine is another organisation that was looking to diversify away from core business and become a real world contractor, and £2 million of work within the first year of working with them. Some more explicitly relevant case studies would be a number of projects that we've won. So we have a huge amount of background within ERDF, European funded projects. We have developed and supported applications for grant funding for numerous different projects. One of those was an innovative technology, disruptive technology to subsea scour prevention. We supported them through the initial ERDF funding process. We helped them build the project through Gantt charts and the various elements, understanding the commercials, the finances and so on. That was a successful application. We then helped them take that product to full commercial reality. That is, from first initial idea and kicking tires around a yard to actually seeing this device installed onto the seabed on a paid for project worth £150,000 as their first project. We also were able to broker a buyout by a major supplier of subsea protection systems, so a full result. One of the more relevant would be a system, an application which is completed for a company called OTS based in Devon, who used their MBTC grant to engage us. We developed their grant application for Innovate UK. That was a £150,000 grant. That's in the running now. We won't know whether it's been successful for another month, but all being well, that will allow them to convert one of their vessels into a dual fuel hydrogen propelled vessel, working with Plymouth Sound to collect data, analyse the data, and take that out on a further industry-wide basis, which will give them a huge opportunity moving forwards. Hopefully you can kind of understand where we're coming from. So what we in essence are able to do is help you. Number one, we can help you develop the project into something that's ready for a grant application. The MBTC grant of £2,500 is normally fully adequate to help us develop that and write that application for whatever it might be from moving forward. So that could be market engagement, it could be understanding the commercial reality of your system, product, device, whatever it is, or it could be applying for a further grant of a much bigger pot to be able to take it to reality from there. My closing slide is missing, so you can look at our website for more information, which is at www.salinemarine.co.uk, and I'm sure my details will come up and be available at the end of this anyway. I think I've managed to waffle for approximately half an hour, so thanks very much for your time and more than happy to answer any questions.
Super, thank you very much, Tim. We've got some time for questions now. If anyone would like to raise questions, it's through the Q&A chat button. I'm getting a bit of feedback of my voice. I hope it's not impacting on people's enjoyment of the sound of my voice. Oh my goodness, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? I'll just put some, whilst we're waiting for questions to come in, because there is a little 20 to 30-second delay, I shall just put up the contact details for everyone to use. And share. But maybe we've covered everything that everyone wanted to know. So that's contact details for myself and Rob, if you need to make a note of those. And obviously we can put you in contact with any of the consultants that have been involved with the webinars going on this week. And then for this session, the contact details are for the businesses, and the names of the businesses are here for you to make a note of. I haven't got the phone numbers on there, I'm afraid, but I'm sure through your ingenious ways you'll find Tim and Richard by phone, by email, by website inquiry, whichever way suits you best. And I think, we have had one question come in. What's the eligibility criteria for the grants? Okay, so there is a couple of criteria there, in that the criteria for the eligible applicant is that they are a Devon-based SME. So that is in where the company is registered or is operating within the Devon area, and an SME is less than 250 employees, and there are some turnover limits on that as well. In addition to that, there is the project that you're putting forward. So the organisational needs analysis will look at what your business is doing and what their innovation idea is, and together with your application, we will be looking at things like the innovative nature, the way that fits within the MBTC project, that it is marine based, the deliverability of the project, and an assessment of the innovation that you're proposing. I think innovation always needs a little bit of interpretation, because that can be innovation for the sector, innovation for your business, innovation for your customers, So that's the sort of thing that we would draw out on the discussion with an organisational needs analysis completion. And we're just about at time, and there aren't any other questions coming forward, so I will end this session, and I just it remains to me to thank both Richard and Tim for their presentations today, sharing what a business can benefit from engaging a consultant to bring those extra resources within your envelope of your business, and also identifying the sorts of things that can be provided as a possible grant application. And we very much look forward to hearing from you in the future on grant applications, or indeed working with Richard or Tim or any of the other consultants that you might be interested in working with. Thank you very much.